This video is on the digestive system. The purpose of the digestive system is to mechanically and chemically break down food into nutrient molecules that are absorbed and used throughout the body. What are the major nutrients of our diet? Hopefully you've already had some time to brainstorm what all the four major nutrients are. Carbohydrates, which are broken down and form glucose. Fats and lipids, which break down and form fatty acids. Proteins, which break down into amino acids. And nucleic acids, which break down into nucleotides. What are the micronutrients? So micronutrients are vitamins and minerals, things you need in your diet in very small amounts. All right, there are four main jobs within the digestive system. The first job is ingestion, taking in food. Digestion, the mechanical and chemical breakdown of that food. Absorption, nutrients passing from the digestive tract into the bloodstream. And elimination, the removal of wastes. So you can see this diagram here, the process. So an organism eats food, it has mechanical digestion, it has chemical digestion of the pieces of food, and then small molecules are absorbed into the body. And then the molecules that are not absorbed are waste products, and they are the undigested material that is eliminated. So the human digestive system is basically one long tube and various accessory glands that secrete digestive juices throughout the ducts. So here is a schematic diagram showing the basic process. You start by putting food into your mouth. There you have salivary glands that are attached, but food doesn't enter the salivary glands, and that leads to the esophagus, which then connects to the stomach. From the stomach, then we go into the small intestine, where we have three different accessory organs, the liver, the pancreas, and the gallbladder, and each of these secrete materials into the small intestine, and then that leads to the large intestine, which then leads us to the rectum and anus. So basically, you are a lot like a tapeworm. You have a long tube within your body for digestion. Okay, so starting off at the beginning, we have the oral cavity, the pharynx, and the esophagus. So digestion begins in the mouth with the mechanical digestion by teeth, which chew food into smaller particles. But at the same time, salivary glands release saliva into the mouth to lubricate food. Saliva actually also contains an enzyme called amylase, which chemically breaks down starch into sugars. So the beginning of chemical digestion actually takes place in your mouth. The tongue shapes food into a bolus that is swallowed. Pharynx and esophagus. As food is swallowed, it makes its way down to the pharynx, a junction that opens to both the esophagus and the trachea. So this is the shared passageway between the respiratory and digestive system. The esophagus moves food from the pharynx down to the stomach by peristalsis. Peristalsis is the rhythmic movement of the smooth muscle surrounding the digestive tract. Swallowing causes the epiglottis to block entry to the trachea. So here's the process of swallowing, eating food, and peristalsis. So you see the trachea and the esophageal sphincter is contracted. You have food in your mouth shown as this big green blob. At this point, the epiglottis is up, and the trachea is allowed for air to travel through it, and the esophagus is closed. And then as you swallow food, as it enters down, it causes the epiglottis to close over the trachea, so that food can't enter the trachea, and food goes down into the esophagus, so the esophageal sphincter relaxes. And then here in the esophagus, you have peristalsis, the process of muscle contraction and relaxation, and then slowly squeezing out of that material to move down from the mouth down to the stomach. So the esophagus works by peristalsis, which means that technically you can drink a pop standing on your head upside down, because the material will flow from your mouth down to your stomach by peristalsis and not just by gravity. All right, the stomach stores food and secretes gastric juice. Gastric juice is made up of hydrochloric acid and an enzyme called pepsin. The stomach also secretes mucus, which protects the stomach lining from gastric juice. It's important that your stomach can protect its stomach lining, because otherwise the acid and enzyme would eat at the very fabric of the stomach, because your stomach is made of is made of protein and would be digesting itself with the gastric juice. Okay, coordinated contraction and relaxation of the stomach muscles churn the stomach's contents. Sphincters, which are rings of muscle, prevent materials from entering the esophagus and regulate entry into the intestine. So you have a sphincter here, and you have a sphincter here. Your cardiac sphincter and I can't think of the name. The small intestine is the longest section of the digestive tract. If we look at, there's three sections: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. It's the major organ of digestion and absorption. The small intestine is broken into three sections. In the first section, the acidic material from the stomach mixes with digestive juices from the pancreas, liver, gallbladder, and the small intestine itself. The pancreas produces enzymes that break apart carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. The pancreas also releases a basic solution to neutralize the acidic material from entering the stomach. So we actually have the material that comes in from the stomach that's highly acidic with about a pH of 2. And then we have the pancreas, which releases basic solution, which is about a pH of 8 or 9. And then we get a solution in the small intestine, which is slightly basic. Then the liver and gallbladder. In the small intestine, bile helps with the digestion of fat. Bile acts as an emulsifier that allows fats to better mix with watery enzymes. So you are familiar with emulsifiers if you've ever done the dishes. When you do the dishes, if you have fatty and oily food grease on your food plates, what you would do if you just put them in water and wash them, you wouldn't get them very clean. So what do you add? Soap. When you add soap, soap acts as an emulsifier. So it connects the fatty food particles or food grease on your plates, and it connects them to water and allows the water to wash the food grease away. So bile is made in the liver and is stored until needed in the gallbladder. So the liver, for the digestive system as an accessory organ, has a very small role. The liver itself plays a much larger role in the body and is involved in other systems. The second and third sections of the small intestine have a huge surface area due to the creation of villi and microvilli. This great amount of surface area increases the rate of nutrient absorption. So each villus contains a network of blood vessels. The capillaries and venules come together in the vein that leads to the liver and then on to the heart. So you can see the intestinal wall. If you zoom in on it, you actually get these villi, which are these sort of finger-like projections on the surface of the small intestine, which increase the surface area. And then if you zoom in even further to the single epithelial cells, you see that there are microvilli, microscopic finger-like projections that increase the surface area again. So the surface area of the small intestine is much, much greater than it appears because of the villi and microvilli. And so this means that nutrient absorption is much more efficient. So you don't have to eat as much food and you don't have to digest it for as long because of villi and microvilli. Colon or large intestine connects to the small intestine. The major function of the colon is to recover water that has entered the digestive tract. Think about all of the enzymes and other digestive juices that have entered the gastrointestinal tract at this point. If we were to let them go, we would be losing large amounts of water every time we eat. Instead, the colon recovers the water that has entered by reabsorbing that water back in. Waste of the digestive tract, the feces, become more solid as they move through the large intestine. The large intestine contains many bacteria, including E. coli, which produces some vitamins. So everybody has E. coli in their large intestine. E. coli are useful or helpful. They produce vitamin K for your body, which helps in blood clotting. The feces are stored in the rectum until they are eliminated through the anus. And so here's just a diagram of the digestive tract. So you have the oral cavity with the tongue and the salivary glands. There are 3 salivary glands surrounding the mouth. Then you have the pharynx, which is the shared passageway. Then you have the esophagus. That leads down to the stomach. From the stomach, then you have the connection to the small intestine. Right here at the base of the small intestine, we have the pancreas, the gallbladder, and the liver, each depositing materials to the small intestine. The small intestine then is all here, all folded around, and is very long, but then has that increased surface area even more because of the villi and microvilli. And then that leads to the large intestine. So the large intestine is here, and it travels over top and back down, and then it becomes the rectum and the anus. The one thing that we have as well in the human body is an appendix and our cecum. In humans, the cecum and appendix are very tiny, and we don't really think we have a strong grasp on what the purpose of the appendix is. We are still looking into its purpose, but seems to be vestigial for humans. All right, and that is all of the digestive system.